acrylic infill and tortieshell tutorial. So grab a brew, take a seat and let's get started. So we're going to start by removing the gel polish. This is just a normal gel top coat and I'm going to take out a little bit of bulk but not a lot. We're only doing an infill, so I just need to make sure that back is relatively flush as I will be moving the apex a little bit closer towards the cuticle. Now the bit I'm using here is, I think it's a coarse bit, but it's not particularly coarse, so it's not my usual kind of 2x or 3x. I don't need a very strong bit. Now this particular motion I'm doing here I find really helps speed up my almond shaping. So basically you need to keep the e-file in contact with the nail at all times. I will show you in the next one. Now I have left all of the prep in. If you do want to skip some of it, I think if you move to around about 10 or 11 minutes, we'll move on to the next part where we're actually kind of, cleansing using the Young Nails protein bond, etc. But again here you'll see that I'm just taking this all out and I'm just debulking ever so slightly. So then I reduce the length by going straight across, and then I literally just take the e-files going in forward, and I will literally just take it down the side, but I will keep it in contact with the nail at all times. So I go down the side of one and then up around the other side. I hope that makes sense. And let me know what you think about the longer video and the longer prep routine in the comments. Do you enjoy it? Would you rather I kind of shortened it down so you only saw 1 or 2 nails? What's your preferences? Let me know, because I love to hear from you. So you'll see there, I just did it there. I literally just kept if you keep that e-file in contact with the nail, it won't skip. If you take it off the nail and try and bring it back on the opposite side of the nail, it will probably skip. So again here, I just take off a bit of the length, and then I go down the side, but I'm keeping that in contact with the nail at all times, and I'm scooping it under the nail and up the other side. I hope that makes sense. I'll leave you to watch for now, and I'll come back in a moment when I start on the next step of the prep. I also just want to pop on a little bit now. My client has a tendency to chip the corners. I think it's something that she does in her daily job. So on this particular set, I decided when I applied the acrylic at the end, I added a little bit more just to try and make them a little bit more sturdy and make sure that sidewall's nice and secure. But again, I need to make sure I get any lifting off. So I'm really gently filing over the top of that. I don't want to kind of remove any natural nail, so I'm not removing any nail, but I'm trying to get the shape as close to how it's going to be as possible. I have actually cut it out, but in a moment you'll see I'm missing the fingertip to my glove. That's because I caught it in my e-file, so I just pulled the fingertip off. I have just received this particular tool from Hona, the Home of Nail Art, and it's like an etching pen. Now I do most of my prep with a sanding band, and in all honesty I think I'm probably going to keep doing that, but I do think this will be useful, particularly if I have any like problem lifters or anybody who doesn't want the sanding band. But I mean, and again, if you do a lot of hand prep, it's really good for that. So I did like it, and maybe it's because I'm still new to using it, but I still think I'd probably go for my sanding band. In fact, I do actually go for the sanding band in a moment, you'll see. But yeah, great little tool, very handy. I suppose it'll just take a bit of getting used to. Once I've done that, I did use that as kind of a cuticle pusher as well. I go in with a flame bit and I literally just go around the cuticles. I've got the e-file on reverse probably around about 9,000 RPM, something like that. And I'm just trying to basically get into that, all those nooks and crannies, really get that cuticle off the natural nail plate. And then I will in a moment go in with a round ball bit. I used to very much do the prep in the aspect of I would do the flame bit, then I would trim, and then I would do a round bit. But actually what I've found is I do the flame bit, and then in a moment you'll see I use a round bit. And I find that it means that I'm trimming off less cuticle, if that makes sense. I'm more exfoliating anything, so I find it much, much easier to remove any kind of remaining non-living tissue. One of the major reasons that you'll get for lifting is lack of inadequate prep. Lack of inadequate prep. One of the main reasons that you'll get is inadequate or lack of prep, should I say. So basically, if there's anything left on that nail plate, any non-living tissue, any oils, any dust, anything like that, it can really make your acrylic lift. So it's always worth trying to spend a little bit more time on your prep, because in theory you should only need to do it once and your client can keep coming back for infills. Now, as I mentioned before, I am trying to exfoliate the majority of my clients' cuticle before I go on with my nippers. I know certainly as a new tech, using nippers, etc., I found it terrifying. And I wanted to try and kind of make it easier when I'm teaching people. So they're not having to nip as much. And honestly, I find this so much better. I mean, look how smooth that is, and I've not even picked the nippers up yet. I will show you in a minute, but it means that I'm getting that right the way back. Look how much nail plate I've exposed there. And once we're going with the sanding band as well, it gets even smoother. So the need for nipping is greatly reduced. As it happens, I don't seem to have the footage in here from the cuticle scissors, so I think I've missed it off, but basically I'll just literally trim anything that's kind of hanging around or flopping, just non-living tissue. I'm not cutting living cuticle. Then I go in with my sanding band. I've got this on literally like 2 or 3, as low as my e-file will go. I know there is conversation around using sanding bands, but I just find as long as I have it on very low, I just find it gets that nail plate really clean. And if I use a very gentle tickling motion, it kind of etches it as well. So I get those tiny little grooves that really help my acrylic stay better. I mean, you'll see that this is about 4 weeks on exactly, and these nails have hardly shifted. There's not a single bit of lifting. I don't even think she'd broken one this time. But she can do, just because she has a really, really busy life. And it's usually the same nails. I find this with certain clients. They're fine up until like around about the 3 or 4 week mark. And then you might find this one particular, like say for example, the pointer finger, that's a really popular one. And if you can hear sighing in the background, I think my dog Ralph is getting bored of me chattering, but he will just have to listen. So again, I'll let you keep watching, but if you've got any questions as we're going, pop them in the comments. I do love to hear from you, and I find it really, really helpful, and it means I can kind of cover things in other videos. Now, the trick that I do as well with the initial debulking bit, I also do with my hand file here, and I find that I hardly have to do any hand filing at the end. It's great. So once we've done all of that prep and the nails have been cleansed and dehydrated, I use a mixture of alcohol and acetone. I go in with 2 layers of Young Nails Protein Bond. I don't need to waste it, so I won't normally put it over the rest of the nail. I only put it over the natural nail plate. But you'll see there, look how healthy those nails are. Do you know what I mean? I've done a lot of prep, but actually it's very gentle. The client's nails are in great condition. Then we go in with our cuticle beads. Remember, keep your client's nails angled down. It makes such a difference. Try not to get fluff in it like I clearly did there, because that'll drive you insane. And then you literally just, basically, you pop it on, let the beads sit at the cuticle for a moment just to polymerize so you don't wipe it all away. And then you just gently brush that down the nail. So again here, let's look at that. I place a tiny bead at the cuticle. I sort it in, I tuck it all in by the cuticle, making sure it's nice and flush. And then I take it down the sides, making sure that I've got all my structure in. And then I blend that away. And I don't know if you can see that from this angle, but you'll see I'm hardly touching that apex. I found on this particular set, I wanted to restructure. I think the nails were just ever so slightly tipping down. So I wanted to put a little bit at the end just to make sure there was plenty of structure on. So I've done that on most nails. Don't be afraid to do that. You need to make sure that the nails are correctly structured. So if you need to add more where you need to. It's not necessarily about doing things in 1 bead, 2 bead. Don't get me wrong, that helps, and it's a great way to learn because it will really help you with your structure. But don't, I suppose what I'm saying is don't beat yourself up if you have to add more. It's much better to add more and then file a little bit away, because that will come with time. So you'll see that nail's pretty spot on there now. It doesn't need much work doing to it at all. Again, I'm just kind of using my brush. I'm hardly touching that apex, and I'm just literally just blending that down, and it just blends a dream. The acrylic that I'm using is by Ashley, and I've not been using it that long. It's a relatively new brand. I think it's only opened up in the last couple of years, but I absolutely love it. It's a dream to work with. It applies gorgeously. You can buy it on TikTok shop, and she's got an Instagram page, and if she is on YouTube or whatever, I will try and tag all of the products that I've used below. But yeah, absolutely applies beautifully. Again here, I needed a tiny bit at the tip just to make sure I've got that integrity and strength of the nail. I think it's the middle one that this, and the pointer. If this client's going to break a nail, it tends to be the middle of the pointer. Again, busy jobs, busy lives. Do you know what? These things happen. But in all honesty, it's normally after about 3 or 4 weeks. I would say anything after 48 hours probably isn't your fault. So if you do have clients coming back after that length of time, don't beat yourself up. Anything after 2 weeks, you're winning. So I will let you watch the rest of this application. I think this is the left. The left hand, and I'm sure I did the rest on the right hand. But anywho, I'll let you watch, and we'll come back for the next bit, which will be the filing. So I took my gloves off. I have issues sometimes with the sensation of the gloves, and also I have some neuropathy in my hands from when I had chemo, so I struggle sometimes wearing gloves, particularly after a little while, because they heat up and I really struggle to feel what I'm doing. So what I'll do is I'll take off, I'll cleanse the client, I'll cleanse my hands again, and I'll start working. Now, I would say as well, when I am doing this, I will try and keep the gloves on as much as possible while I'm working with wet product. So, for example, with the monomer and all that kind of thing. So I'm reducing my exposure. But yeah, I just sometimes get to the point where I just have to take them off. I am using a 5-in-1 e-file bit. This one is from Katie Barnes. It's a gorgeous e-file bit to use. Highly recommend it. And again, just the same procedure. I'm just taking that over the nail. I am trying to make that cuticle as flush as possible. And then I am going taking the bulk out of the sides. I don't want to file too much on the sides because I don't want to file the side walls, but I just find if I do that, it gives a slimmer effect. And again, keeping the file in contact with the nail at all times, I am literally just taking that round. I don't know whether you can see that as well, but if you'll notice, I'm tipping the client's hand up because I'm looking at the nail from all angles. Just looking at it from up down, as it were, you're going to struggle to see that your client, the client's nails. You're going to struggle to see the shape, etc. But yeah, just make sure you're looking at all angles. And I'm trying to do as much of the filing with my e-file now, because I'm finding that I'm struggling a little bit hand filing, and this just reduces my times a little bit. I'm not going to say I don't still faff about with the hand file for a long time because I can't help myself, but it does mean that that's definitely reduced. I often get asked about the timings that sets take. Now, this is a difficult one really because it's going to depend on design. This was an infill, so the actual infill was quicker, but the gel polish design took a little bit longer. I would say on average my sets take around 2 to 2.5 hours. I'm not the quickest, but I prioritise the quality. And as I go along, I'm getting quicker and quicker all the time, but I tend not to rush it. And as I say, a lot of my clients I'm very friendly with, so it tends to be a real social visit, which I absolutely adore. Next, we're going with our hand file, and this is more just to fully crisp and refine. I use a fresh file for every single client, so one of the things that people often say, like I say, I do get comments on gloves if I'm not wearing them for the full set, but I'm really, really hot on my hygiene, so I'm always spraying things. Clients get a brand new file. I never use any e-file bits twice on people. They're always cleansed fully between, with a full cleansing with Mondo, and kind of a cleanser beforehand. So everything is fully sanitised before I kind of just start working on my clients. And as I say, brand new file for every single client as well. So I've left some of the filing in. Filing's quite difficult to catch on videos, but you need to try and have as much as possible the same routine for each nail. I'm not saying I always do this, but if you try and do this when you first get started, you will find that it'll make a lot of difference. And please do remember, I am a bit of a faffer, so I like to kind of go back in. Ideally, what you'll do is you'll go down one side, as I'm doing here. So I'm going all the way down the left-hand side of the nail, and then I'm going to turn it round and I'm going to go down the right-hand side of the nail. You want to see that the whole top of that nail is etched. Then you're going to spend ages faffing about with your dust collector because health is wealth. Then you're going to forget where you were up to, and then you're going to go back to the start. And you're going to go all the way down the right-hand side, and then you're going to go back to the left-hand side. No, I'm kidding. So then you want to bevel over the top. So it's right-hand side, left-hand side, bevel over the top. Just remember that, and it'll really help. It'll really help your routine. I'll show you again, hopefully, on the next nail. And then I just make sure that end looks nice and crispy. Oh, I got loads of these little buffers from Amazon. They're absolutely fantastic. And I just find they're really, really handy. Again, every client gets a new one. So I quite like the fact that they're quite small and they're super cheap. So I will literally just smooth over the top of the client's nails just to make sure they're nice and smooth. Then we cleanse all of the dust off, get all of your dust off before you go in with your gel polish. And then I am going in to do the design. Now, this particular design, I was really thrilled with. She'd brought kind of a slightly more leopard print design, but we decided to go for a Tortie look because I had the colours and I really wanted to try them. And she's just wonderful and lets me play around. So I'm doing this side swoop on the middle and pointer finger. The ring finger was just a plain brown in a similar design. But we didn't want to kind of go too OTT with it. But I'm using the Honer Tortie paint, which I absolutely adore. It's just so easy to work with. So you're going to go in with the Tortie paint, and then you're not going to cure it. And then if you'll see on the palette there, the palette on the brush, on the pot just below, I have some warm brown and some black, and in a moment I will go on that. Because I was only doing small layers, I was able to do both the nails at the same time, which actually meant that it was quite quick, uncharacteristically for me. So yes, I basically do the same design on the pointer and the index finger, sorry, the pointer and the middle finger. I don't cure that, and then I'll go in with little splodges in a moment with the black and the brown. Again, I'm not curing in between. What I want them to do is I want them to kind of bleed together to create that Tortie effect. So you'll see here, I'm literally just kind of jabbing it into the polish. And again, I don't want it to be thick either, so I'm just picking up the tiniest little bit. This particular brush is the Sturdy Boy from Cassie Payne. And when I tell you, it is one of the nicest brushes I've ever worked for. It does French really well, fine detail, does swoopy lines beautifully. Honestly, I used it for this whole set and I love it. I highly recommend it. It's like a 15mm, I think, and it's just perfect. With any kind of swoop or French or anything like that, a longer brush makes it such a smoother line. So I will leave you to watch now, but if you've got any questions, as always, please pop them in the comments below and I'll be back in a moment to tell you how I finish off the design. Once that's all cured and I've added the ring finger with the brown, I then go in with the Champagne Chrome Mirror Polish, again from Honer. I will try and link their page below. They are amazing. I love their gel paints. They're so good. And again, as you'll see, same brush, Sturdy Boy. I think I'm going to get a few more of these because they just apply an absolute dream. And we just did some gold swoops that kind of went around the nail. You'll see in the final design how we arranged those. I won't go on about that. And I'll let you watch the rest of it and I'll be back in a moment for top coat. And again, I'm not sure if I've mentioned it before, but I do cure once I've finished each stage of the design. So after the tortieshell I've cured, and then after painting this gel polish on, I've cured as well. I haven't used a base coat here, but you absolutely could if you want to, and sometimes I do find it helps the polish go on really well. Then we're going in with the top coat. Now this particular top coat I think is from Acrylic, but there's so many beautiful top coats out there. I would say just use your favourite. I also love the Jellifique top coat, adore that one, and the Dali one as well. There's a few that are really, really good. Then I am literally just top coating all of those. Oh, I'm so pleased with this set. You know when you have a set and you sit back, it's not the most complicated set, but you're just really pleased with how it looks. And my client was as well, and she's getting really adventurous and I'm loving it. It's fantastic. So yes, anyway, top coat all of that. Then make sure you do all of your cuticle oils and all that kind of thing to make sure that set's finished off lovely. And then you'll be done. In a moment we'll have the final look, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you. And if you are enjoying this, as I said before, I think, please do drop us a like and a follow. Thanks again. Have a wonderful day.